Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. And in this one we're going to be taking a closer look at the Source Shard pet artifact. We didn't really touch on it much in the previous video, just kind of gave a brief overview and some basic damage, base damage numbers. But we didn't have access to the pets, and there was a lot of information included in one video, so this is going to be it, taking a closer look here. So the main thing with sorcery, same thing with Earth, will be the kind of apply the same. It's just sorcery is going to be the one that kind of ideally is suited for this artifact, and we'll kind of touch on that in a moment. But you're going to need Offering and a Fortified Golem, which does change the rotation around, because before we're used to still using Crystal or Fury or Guardian just as passive damage. But if you're going to be using Godwave Strength, you need to kind of focus your damage towards pet damage, and that's going to be involving using Offering and Fortified Golem, which are going to be specific to Earth and Sorcery. The other thing that's going to be specific to a build using Godwave Strength is that you have to use a superpower on your loadout to have a chance to reset the cooldown. So what I mean by that is we go to Source Shard, 10% chance to refresh the cooldown of Godwave Strength when casting a superpower. So that's the important thing to remember, casting a superpower. So a superpower is going to be something on your loadout. So each time you hit a button, basically, you're hitting like a keyboard key, that has a chance to cooldown refresh. So the issue is that if you're using, let's say, like Heat Vision or other channel abilities, say you're ice and using like Frost Blast or Arctic Gust or Avalanche, or like Earth, like Jackhammer, Light, Whip Thrash, Lightweight, Atomic Combos, all these powers that are longer channels, or you're just hitting one power and then doing a combo, none of those are going to have the chance to reset Godwave Strength, because you're not casting a superpower. You're using you could spam Arctic Gust and not a chance to reset it at all, just because even though you're multiple times using Arctic Gust or Avalanche, you're not actually pressing the power. It's not actually being casted. So then that leaves a loadout that has to revolve around short cooldowns. You can use multiple hits, because same thing, even like say if I use dots, like say for nature dots or circle of destruction, same thing, those dots you're not casting a superpower, so the dots aren't going to proc it either. So say like nature, you're using 3 dots and then just using harvest or the shield, drawing a blank here for a sec, whatever, the shield to basically refresh the dots. The same thing, you'd only have a chance to have the damage the cooldown on Godwave Strength refreshed by when you're hitting that refresh power. So it's basically only the time when you're resetting your dots. So that's the one drawback. If you're going to use this power effectively, or this artifact effectively, you have to completely change your rotation to revolve around having the cooldown reset, because that's where your damage is going to come from. So what does that mean? So essentially, Sorcery works well. Earth is not a good example, because you're going to have to changing how you used Jackhammer, because you can't really consistently spam Jackhammer. You're going to be resetting it much less. So Sorcery works. We got Soul Bolt, Soul Storm, Soul Barrage, Soul Bolt, and Soul Storm, Offering, Summon Fear, and Guarantee Summoning. So I'm not using this yet, because I want to give you guys a baseline. So we go up to here, we're going to summon it, just to kind of give you a sense of what the rotation looks like before and after. Because essentially the only thing you'd be subbing out is you'd be taking out Soul Storm. So Soul Storm, Godwave Strength, which I'll show you in a moment. So let's kind of just get a rough baseline here. We're using Gnorm as well. And I'll show the might in a sec, but it's like 59k might, something like that. I do not have the escalating might index right now. I think it's still Relentless Precision for my previous test, but once again, it doesn't really matter. It's not about how high the damage I can get, because it'll be equally compared. As you can see, it's about 45k. 43, 43, 45, 41. So it averaged out to around like 44, and that's at my might's going to be 59. So about 60k might. Because you need the Gnorm, obviously you need Source Shard, the Soul Amplifier is there just above my might. I'm not actually using it, so you could use another power if you wanted to sub in might. So now we'll switch to the loadout with Godwave, which I think is the first one. Yep. So as you can see, nothing really changes. I'm just subbing out Soul Storm. And this will kind of give you an idea of the damage you can expect to see, because we're normally seeing 43, 43, 45, 41 roughly. So now you can see what we're actually going to see and how often Godwave strength is going to reset by using a rotation like this. So if we go into the rotation here, Godwave's proc down there. Fury's got some extra power. So as you can see, it's not even resetting that often. It's basically still that 10% chance, but you still need to, you're going to have times where it's, you're going to maximize the 10% or not. So obviously you're still going to want to maximize when offering, or when Fury has high power, to use Godwave. So you kind of get an idea there. Once again, not perfect, but you get a sense for how the rotation works. So before I'm seeing, like 43, 44, 45. Now I'm seeing, 46, 50, 41, 61, 57. The lower dips in 49, 41 where I'm not getting reset and I have to wait the 18 seconds. 54. So you can see that, yes, you're doing more damage. The problem is you wouldn't be using the rotation I used for Mike before. You wouldn't really be using that regardless. You'd be using something similar to have my Sorcerer Guides. So you'd be dropping Grim because you can use the Circle of Destruction for that. Soulstorm, Soul Bolt, then Karmic Backlash for melee. So, or Dervish. So you'd obviously be getting way more than, you'd be getting closer to probably about 55, 60k damage regardless without it. So you can still reach similar numbers, but that's only the best case scenario. That's only when you're using offering right before Godwave, or Godwave's resetting twice, 3 times per rotation. Other times you're going to have a dip. And yes, these are 10-second parsers, so it's a smaller sample size. But you see the idea. So when you hit Godwave, it's great. You have that rotation in 10 seconds, but when you aren't getting it to proc, you're getting lower, 41, 49k, 54. So it's one of those things where it can work, it can be viable, but it's very specific situations. And sorcery is kind of that prime example, because when you look at, say, like gadgets will be another example. When I show you this, you could do a gadgets build around like Suppressor Turret, but really it's a lot easier to see these damage potentials with Fury with Sorcerer and Earth, because you have access to Fortify Golem and permanent pets. Because other than that, you could technically work builds around like Dead King Scepter to get the artifacts, the pets faster, the booze. Like you'll see these examples in the spreadsheets, because I know it's like, I'm saying, where's the spreadsheet? That's all you're good at. So yeah, I'll show those in a moment, but it kind of gives you a brief idea here. I'm sure it's going to be viable, but in only certain situations. It's not like you can just slap this on any power and just spam like, you can't just slap this on nature and spam like, a swarm and like, voracious plants because it's 0.5 seconds. You just can't sit and spam that and hope to do well. Because nature doesn't have a permanent pet besides Swarm, and you're going to see the type of damage Swarm does in a moment. You got to run like Dead King Scepter to reduce the cooldown on your other pets, and run like 3 boos, and you have to, work your rotation and loadout completely around trinket pets at that point, where at least with Sorcerer and Earth you can work them around the permanent pets of the power set. So it's something that you're going to have to mess around with. Unfortunately, you're going to have to spend at least, $150 to get this thing to 160. It doesn't necessarily have to be at 200, but the 200 gives you that 10% chance to refresh. The 160 does. Trying to blank. I can't remember. It's either 160 or 200 to get the 10%. But at the same time, yeah, because no, it is right. 160, because at 200, you get a third pet. So the only difference between 160 and 200 for this is that you get the third pet. So technically this artifact you can level up to 160 and be perfectly fine. Would be about 150 bucks. But I mean, it all depends on your playstyle at that point. Is this going to be better damage than like other alternatives? No, I don't see that a pet rotation or pet loadout of revolving on the source shard is going to be better than what we can accomplish without artifacts or meta rotations with Prekor Might. I don't think we're there yet, just because we only have 2 power sets with permanent pets, and without, if you're not using offering or the pet is not at full power to use that large attack, it does fairly low subpar damage. So if you aren't getting Godwave reset around offering or fortify that 6-second cooldown, you're getting a lot less damage for that rotation because there's nothing else you can do. Yeah, you certainly get the passive damage from Gnorm, or if you have another pet out, a trinket, but that's only 120 seconds unless you're using Dead King. So it's one of those things where you can mess around and it could be competitive damage probably, but it's not going to be viable damage. It's all going to be kind of like that niche area. So let's kind of jump to the spreadsheets now. Okay, so we're on to the spreadsheet side of it. So basically this window, essentially I just test them at normally how I'd test pets, which is basically 60-second parsers on 3 targets. But they're at 293. So I couldn't use my previous results because I'm on live server on 295. So I just wanted to give you a comparison of what I looked at. So some of you guys are asking what Nature Swarm and Ice Snow Devil. So I tested those ones as well at 293. So they're not 295. So the difference is you'll be slightly seeing, if you're 295 or 296 on live server, you'll be seeing slightly higher number just because I'm 293 here. But that's Snow Devil tested, the gadgets suppressor turrets. We got Nature Swarm there as well. So that's in terms of the base damage of what you're looking at. Not really any surprises there. So this is part of the actual test. So what I did was, instead of doing 60-second parses, I did 10 seconds because Godwave Strength lasts for 5 seconds. But it's got an 18-second cooldown. So I want to compare how much damage you're getting from a 10-second window with and without Godwave Strength. So that'll kind of give you a rough idea of what kind of damage you're going to see from it. Because obviously if you're using a rotation, you can reset it multiple times in 18 seconds. But this will still be what you can see out of those pets, or what kind of potential damage you'll be seeing. And the results do change because a lot of the pets, which I'll kind of touch on there. But say, for example, Gnorm, 23k, now it does 50k. So in that same 10-second window, if I hit 1 Godwave Strength, it does 50k damage. Nature Swarm, 26 to 53. So the suppressor turret, this is where it does change. I'm at 47k to 143k. So you can see these aren't in order of how much damage they do. I just did them in the damage on order from 60 seconds. So the reason why this does way more damage is because of Flamethrower. The turret has Flamethrower on it. It's one of its attack patterns. So it basically does Flamethrower, Frost Grenade, and like or some kind of Daze Grenade. So it does the 3 different types of attacks, main attacks. So when you time Godwave Strength to use Flamethrower, and it usually uses one Flamethrower every 10 seconds, you get way more damage if the Godwave Strength is applied to a Flamethrower. So you can kind of see here. So 150k, that's with Flamethrower. 100k is without it. So it still does a lot more damage than, say, like Swarm or Gnorm base damage. But if you time it so that Godwave Strength is proccing on Flamethrower damage because of the multiple hits in the short window, you can get 150, 179k. So that's a lot more potential with Suppressor Turret. That's just with the Daze PI. That's not even 2 PIs. But there wasn't a real big difference between 2 PIs as you saw in my previous testing. So the range of melee and Robot Psychic, nothing really, 94, 96, nothing really changed. Snow Devil, 96. So basically what I did was that I hit Snow Devil. I would wait the 12 seconds, hit Snow Devil, and then use Godwave Strength. So Godwave, these parsers are always showing 2 Snow Devils out at the same time because it's Godwave but proccing during that window where there's 2 Snow Devils out. So this is basically best case scenario for a Snow Devil at 96. The Seahorse is actually pretty interesting as well because of its attack pattern. So if you'll remember with Seahorse, when you summon it, it's got that pulse beam where it fires single target beam at a target and it's multiple hits. And then it goes into its fires like a water ball or something where it's AoE. If you proc it when it's doing that beam, you'll get 140k, 130k. But if you don't, because after it does that beam, it kind of pauses for like 3 or 4 seconds. It doesn't really do any attacks. And then it throws like 1 water ball AoE. So if you are getting it at the wrong timing, like eventually, because these are 10-second parses, you'll get it averaged out. So it won't be as big of a deal. But the example is that if you proc Godwave Strength at the wrong time, which is not really in your control because you're not staring at your pet, you can get massively less damage. 6 hits versus like 14 or 9, because it's missing that pulse beam or pulse wave damage, whichever it's referred to. Shadowbat's about the same. Shadowbat's got some interesting ones as well, because Shadowbat and Dark Construct Bat are going to be interesting because their first initial hits are single target, and they're 20k hits. So basically you get like 20k, 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 and then it does like the 3 like AoE beam, or not beam, the AoE balls. So it's a very interesting single target trinket, because if you're hitting Godwave on that, you're getting some really good single target damage added to your parse right off the bat. And this is basically utility belt boo times 2, so 59k to 114, kind of a base normal increase there. The summer event trinket, 73 to 150. Boo utility belt times 3. I don't use Mr. Boo because Mr. Boo is the lowest damage on itself. So the other thing you should mention is that this does have a chance to be higher damage, but it's more luck based. So when Mrs. Boo breaks an encasement, you get an extra like 20 to 40k damage roughly. So obviously if Godwave Strength procced on one of those explosions, massive damage. So that's, but you can't really parse for that. Like technically I could. I'd have to get a second player's mental encasing them. But I mean, it doesn't happen all that often in content, but it's got the possibility. So, a little asterisk that these can technically have high potential damage with Miss Boo. And then we go into Crystal, 100k to 174k. Crystal is the weaker version of the pets. And then Fury and Offering, 114k and 217. So what does that mean? A lot of numbers thrown at you, but what does that actually mean? So if we jump to here, this explains a little bit better. So I'm looking at the percentage changes between the base damage and Godwave Strength. So what this means is that the base damage on Crystal, so basically I sorted by lowest to highest. So basically you're looking at a 73% increase in damage from the base damage to a Godwave Strength. So Robot Psychic, you're looking at 88% increase. Fury with Offering, you're looking at 90%. Two Boos, 93. Seahorses, 96. Swarms, 100%. Robot Psychic, same thing, 102, 102, 111. So the big boys is that the suppressor turret, like I said with Flamethrower, you're looking at a 200% or 201% increase in damage from base to with Godwave if you're proccing on that Flamethrower. Same thing, Blue Utility Belt times 3, you're looking at 193% increase in damage. But if you're using a Boo Utility Belt with 3 pets, you cannot. That's if you're not Sorcery or not Earth, not using Robot Psychic, not using Gnorum, because as you saw at 200, it only buffs 3 pets. So basically, that's in the case where you want to use the exact same rotation as you always did as your power set, as Might or Prec, whatever, but you throw in, you lose your Utility Belt, so you lose Supply Drop, Trinket, and whatever your other one was. You got to keep the Trinket and keep Blue Utility Belt so you maintain your CR. So if you want to do something like that, that's the type of damage you're looking at every 10 seconds, 165k. So that might be viable if you want to look at that, because then you're not really changing anything. You just have to change an artifact. So sub out 1 artifact for Source Shard. Then you don't have to worry about Gnorum. You don't have to worry about running Robot Psychic, so you can save those loadout slots. You just have to run 1 loadout slot for Godwave. So that's a possibility there. And then Shadowbat, like I said before, 151% increase because of that those multiple hits. Snow Devil was 131, and Summer Event was 117. So that's essentially what you're looking at in terms of potential. So obviously there's a lot of potential with 3 Boos and the Suppressor Turret compared to something with Crystal and Fury, because it doesn't, unless you hit Offering or Fortify Golem right before Godwave Strength, you're doing a lot less damage, because Crystal and Fury do a lot less damage, like really subpar damage with no power. So basically, if you're getting a 200% increase on Godwave at like its little like shurikens or whatever the hand blaster attacks from Fury's doing, you're getting maybe like 7k, 8k damage, big deal. But if you use it before Offering, you're getting like 3 hits of like 45k. So that's the main difference there. That's why there's not a large percentage increase, because basically all the damage that Godwave is doing, that you're getting a lot of damage, but all that damage is coming just on the Offering and Fortify Golem procs. Same thing, Suppressor Turret, you wouldn't have to change anything because it's a permanent pet. So, but then you're really changing around gadgets. So that's essentially what it is. Kind of take it how it is. So that's the potential there. So would I level up this artifact right away? No. This is more of a niche artifact, kind of like just like Lamort card. Lamort card has like very niche situations where it actually is better. Same thing. I think there'll be niche situations where this Godwave Strength and Source Shard is better than what we can do as Might damage. But, you got to spend all that money, change your rotation. A lot of testing is involved with it. So Is it viable? No. Is it practical? No. But does it have good potential? I would say yes. But you guys can play it by yourselves. So take care. Thanks for watching.